Yes.
And specifically, why did you take these photographs? Were you directed to do those?
Part of my processing of the vehicle. In this case, I felt that these latent prints had value, so I'm going to photograph them before submittal and lifting.
Okay, did someone ask you to go back and do that, or did you do that on your own?
That was all my own.
Okay, and was anything further done with those prints?
Yes, latent tag 143, it was submitted for review. Actually, if you want more, it was submitted to FDLE. It's FDLE submission number 7 under this case.
And then after October 24th, did you take any additional photographs?
And I'm sorry, sir, October 24th of what year?
Of 2017, sir.
Thank you.
Apologize.
On December 27th, the photos of the field.
That we discussed already?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, anything other than those?
And then on January 8th that you discussed.
Which were the keys?
Yes, ma'am, that's it.
And that's it?
Yes, ma'am.
Judge may just have one moment.
Yes.
I'm sorry, just one last thing. That FDLE number 7 submission regarding the prints that you were talking about,
Yes, ma'am.
did you get results back of those?
I did.
When were those results back?
Doesn't give me specifics. It just tells me that on November 9th, 2017, it was submitted to them for review.
Okay, so do you know,
Oh, I'm sorry. Laboratory report is February 8th of 2018.
and Judge, may I approach to see that document?
Yes.
Judge, may I just have one moment?
Yes.
Judge, I don't have any other questions about that issue. And if I just may have one more moment to see if we need to address anything else.
Sure.
Judge, we just, for the record, do believe that there was a discovery violation regarding the photographs that weren't provided. However, we're not asking for any additional sanctions at this point, so we're ready to bring the jury back in.
All right. Mr. Nelson, have you had an opportunity to talk with your attorneys about this? About what Ms. Moore just stated? Do you need a moment?
Yeah.
All right. Take a moment.
I think that I've spoken with Mr. Nelson. He understands that the court wants to inquire as to that.
All right, Mr. Nelson, have you had an opportunity to talk with Ms. Moore about this issue?
Yes, she brought it to my attention. You know, I just lost a couple seconds there. No, I agree with that. I agree.
You agreed to proceed?
Yes, yes, Your Honor.
And Ms. Moore, just to be clear, so you're not asking for any relief from the court, is that correct?
That's correct.
Mr. Nelson, you agree with that?
Yes, I do, Your Honor.
Okay. All right, and then, Ms. Moore, you still have some cross-examination?
Yes, Judge.
Okay, so is defense ready to proceed, Ms. Moore?
I am.
Mr. Nelson, are you ready?
Yes, Your Honor.
Ms. Burdick, you ready?
Yes.
All right. Sir, are you ready?
I am.
All right, let's bring the jury, please. Ms. Moore, does the defense acknowledge the jury?
We did.
Mr. Nelson?
Yes, Your Honor.
Ms. Burdick, state?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, Ms. Moore, please continue.
Mr. Bigley, we had talked about you processing the vehicle, so I want to move on now to the Fenton Road scene. And it's my understanding you went there first on September the 30th, is that right?
That's correct.
Okay. And you were there essentially in an observation type role, but you didn't find any evidence that day, is that right?
I was just there to observe the recovery.
Okay. And then you mentioned with the state that you went back to that scene a number of times on your own, is that correct?
I did.
And that was through the beginning of October, is that correct?
Correct.
Okay, and you went back and looked using various tools and techniques for any type of weapon, is that right?
That's correct.
And in all of those times you went alone, you weren't able to find it?
Correct.
And then you went back, you indicated on on December the 27th.
We did.
And that was in an organized search party, is that right?
It was.
And so, again, you were specifically looking for a knife, is that right?
Correct.
And you had approximately 25 people there, is that right?
If not more, yes, ma'am.
Okay, and you had gone the day before to prep for this, is that right?
I did.
And so this was, organized and we're looking for something specific in a specific location, is that right?
I was.
Okay. And you were doing that because you had additional information at that point, is that right? I'm not asking you to tell me what the information was or anything like that, but the reason for that was because you had additional information.
We did.
Okay. And so during that search, you were all in a line, walking in a specific direction from where the body was found towards a specific location, is that right?
Vaguely, yes.
Okay. And then during that search, when you had, sort of a more organized pattern that you were following, is when you did actually find the knife, is that right?
Not myself, but one of the members, yes, ma'am.
Okay. And you measured the location of the knife from where the body was found.
Correct.
And that was, I believe you said between 70 and 80 feet, is that right?
I can give you the specifics if you let me look.
Sure.
75 feet, 8 inches.
And the knife that you collected that day is the one that we saw the photographs of, right?
Correct.
And the blade of that knife is smooth for a portion and then at the end is serrated, is that correct?
Sounds correct.
Judge may just have one moment.
Yes.
Just to clarify my last question, when I said the end, I meant near the handle end is where it's serrated.
That's how I understood it, yes, ma'am.
Okay. Judge, I have no other questions.
Redirect.
Just wanted to follow up on one of the questions that you were asked regarding the collection of items from the vehicle not being sent to the Florida Department of Law Enforcement. Can you explain why that decision was made?
Certainly. There are so many items that I collect from that car. When anything that is touched from handles, steering wheel, gear shift lever, AC knobs, all that's going to be swabbed for DNA. So as we go through our evidence, if we're not having luck with our best evidence, we can go to our secondary, third, fourth, and so on.
All right. So from what you're saying, these items that we've discussed were submitted first. If there were no results from those items, additional evidence items would have been submitted by the department.
Yes, ma'am, that's correct.
All right. That's all I wanted to ask, Your Honor. Thank you.
All right, sir, you can step down.
Thank you.
Ms. Berg, please call the next witness for the state.
Sharon Wagganer.
Thank you.
Do you solemnly swear the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Please state and spell your first and last name for Madam Court Reporter.
Sharon Wagganer, S-H-A-R-O-N, last name W-A-G-G-A-N-E-R.
Thank you. Ms. Berg.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Please reintroduce yourself to the members of the jury.
My name's Detective Sharon Wagganer.
Thank you. All right, and you already testified once in this trial, correct? Okay. So I wanted to follow up with some of the investigation that occurred after the remains of Jennifer Fulford were found. All right. Did you happen to go to the scene where the remains were located?
No, I did not.
All right. How about the autopsy of Jennifer Fulford? Did you attend that?
I did attend the autopsy.
All right. During that process, would you have had any access to Ms. Fulford's remains?
No, I did not. I just observed.
Now, on October 1st, the defendant, Mr. Nelson, was located in Jacksonville, Florida. Did you have contact with the defendant on that date?
I did not personally. I observed the interview.
Did you have contact with the defendant on October 4th of 2017?
Yes, I did.
If I may approach the witness with the evidence item, Your Honor?
Yes.
I'm going to show you what's been marked as State's Exhibit P, as in Paul, for identification. Did you meet with the defendant for the purpose of obtaining a court-ordered DNA standard from him?
Yes, I did.
Is that what is contained in evidence item P?
Yes, it is.
Can you tell us how that was accomplished? What do you do in order to collect that item?
I first requested a search warrant for his DNA, which was granted. I met with him at the Orange County Jail, and I swabbed his cheeks and side of his mouth,
All right,
and then submitted him into evidence.
okay. Was he cooperative throughout that process?
Yes, he was.
Okay. And once you collect them, do you take any steps to preserve them?
Yes.
What do you do?
We tag them with a biohazard, and then our crime analyst forwards them to be analyzed by the Florida Department of Law Enforcement.
All right. Your Honor, at this point, I would seek to introduce State's P for identification into evidence.
No objection.
Without objection, it's been marked for identification as State's P is admitted into evidence as State's Exhibit 146.
All right. Do you see the individual whose DNA swabs you obtained on October 4th of 2017? Do you see him in the courtroom?
Yes, I do.
Can you point him out, please? Describe an article of clothing that he's wearing so we know that we're speaking about the same individual.
Sitting directly between the female and male at this table with a sport jacket on, tie, and a white shirt.
All right. The record will reflect she's identified the defendant, Scott Nelson. Now, at the time that Mr. Nelson was apprehended in Jacksonville, he had not been arrested for the murder of Jennifer Fulford, correct?
Correct.
May approach. Go ahead.
All right, let me withdraw that last question and ask a clarifying question. At the beginning of October in Jacksonville, it is Mr. Nelson, let me rephrase this. The Winter Park Police Department had sought an arrest warrant for the use of the credit card of Ms. Fulford, correct?
Correct.
Okay. So when you met with him, only that information had been made public.
Correct.
Now, when you saw Mr. Nelson on October 4th of 2017 to obtain the DNA standard, did you tell him anything about the investigation into Ms. Fulford's death?
I read the warrant to him, and he asked no questions, and I didn't question him.
All right. The actual warrant or the affidavit that would contain facts?
Just the warrant.
Okay. Were there any facts about the investigation in what you read to him?
No, but the charges were listed on the warrant.
Would you have been involved in the handling of any of the evidence that was sent to FDLE from the car?
No.
Does the Winter Park Police Department have restricted access to their evidence room?
Yes, they do.
And if you wanted to access an item of evidence, what process or procedure would you have to go through in order to do that?
I would have to send an email request to the evidence technician. They would let me know when it was okay to come down. They print out a receipt that I have to sign, the piece out, and it stays that way until I return it. When I return it, they mark when I delivered it back to them.
So if you ever accessed a piece of evidence that was in Winter Park's possession, there would be written documentation of the date and time you accessed it?
Definitely, yes.
Do you know Detective Brian Ferreira?
Yes, I do.
Is he with the Winter Park Police Department?
He is with the Orlando Police Department.
Did Detective Ferreira assist the Winter Park Police Department in some aspects of this investigation?
Yes, he did.
Were you aware of the fact that Detective Ferreira was in Jacksonville with Winter Park detectives on October 1st of 2017?
I will sustain the objection of the truth of any matter asserted, but I'll overrule it to the extent it may have had an effect on the listener.
Did you see him there in Jacksonville
Yes, I did.
on October 1st of 2017? All right. In early November of 2017, did you become aware of Mr. Nelson writing a letter to Detective Ferreira?
Yes, I did.
And on that, and did you and Detective Ferreira then seek to speak with Mr. Nelson at a point in time after that letter was received?
Yes, we did.
In early 2018, did you become aware of another letter written to the state attorney, Aramis Ayala, by Mr. Nelson?
Yes, I did.
If I may approach the witness with what's been marked as states AU for identification.
Go ahead.
Have you take a look at that and tell me if you recognize that document?
Yes, this is the copy, or it is the letter I received a copy of.
And affixed to that is an envelope, correct?
Yes,
Containing a return address of one Scott Nelson and other identifying information.
correct.
Now, even though this went to the state attorney, you became aware of the contents?
Yes, I did.
If I may approach the witness again.
Yes.
If I may direct your attention to page 5 of that document, starting at the lines on the second document. And just tell me if the second document accurately reflects the contents of what's on page 5 of the first document.
Yes, it does.
May we approach us to this item?
Yes. All right, Ms. Burke.
Thank you. Detective, you became aware of the fact that State Attorney Aramis Ayala in January of 2018 received a letter from Scott Nelson,
Yes, I
and
did.
you were provided a copy of that letter?
Yes, I was.
All right. I've shown that to you, and, Your Honor, at this point, I would seek permission to publish a portion of the letter.
Is that what's been marked for identification as GY?
Yes, that's correct.
Mr. Lahr? Okay, go ahead.
Can you read that into the record?
The keys to Jennifer Lynn Fulford's vehicle are directly across the street from the Publix supermarket. Publix, the Dollar General, has a single small green shrub bush directly between the front door of Dollar General and Colonial Street. The keys are deep inside the bush. They may be still there, the bush by the front door between door and Link's bus stop sign.
And did you take any action in response to that letter?
Yes, I did.
Okay. What did you do?
I drove to that area and first went to the Dollar General store that is in that area and conducted a search of the shrubs, came back to the Publix parking lot, and then looked across the street at the discount auto parts store. I believe it's Advanced Auto Parts. And there is a small shrub in front of that business that is directly next to the Link's bus stop. And I walked over there, looked in that shrub, and found the keys.
All right. May I approach the witness with several items, starting with FE, FF, FG, FH, FI, FJ, FK, FL, FM, FN, and FO for identification. What day did you respond to
Go
this
ahead.
citation?
I believe it was 8th of January, or 18th. I photographed it and put the date, start and end times. I believe it was January 18th.
Showing these photographs, do they fairly and accurately depict the location and recovery of the set of keys? Look at all of them first and tell me.
Yes, they do.
Your Honor, at this point, I would seek to introduce the referenced letter exhibits for identification and evidence.
All right, without objection, what's been marked for identification as stated by Ms. Burdick will be admitted into evidence. starting with State's Exhibit 147 and consecutively numbered as determined by Madam Clerk.
FE would be 147. FS 148. FG 149. FH 150. FI 151. FJ 152. FK 153. FL 154. FM 155. FN 156. And FO 157.
Permission to publish those items, Your Honor.
Granted.
There's the laser pointer here. If you need it, you can point it that base behind you if necessary. Showing you first 147 in evidence. Can you explain to the jurors first of all, what we're looking at and what street this is?
This is Colonial Drive,
Can you
East
speak up a
Colonial.
little bit, please?
This is East Colonial Drive. That is the public shopping center. And on the left side is the discount auto parts store. And on the sidewalk is the Lynx bus stop sign and location.
Can I it's the second button with this. All right, the Lynx bus station is where?
The Lynx bus stop is right here.
And the item right there at the bus stop?
This is the shrub bush right by the bus stop.
And what is this?
Trash can.
.148 in evidence. Is this a closer shot of the lone shrub in that area?
Yes, it is.
And you said that you looked inside that shrub and were able to locate an item. Was it visible from the top there of the shrub?
I could see it looking directly into the shrub. I could see the key fob.
All right, when you looked into the shrub, did you see that?
It's in this location. It's right here.
So you took some additional pictures as well to get a little closer.
Yes.
151 in evidence.
Here is the item.
152.
And the closer shot.
After you photographed that in place, what did you do?
Then I put on rubber gloves, collected the keys, put them in an envelope, and delivered them to the Winter Park Police Department and submitted them into evidence.
.153 in evidence. This is the condition of those keys when you recovered them.
Yes, it is.
.156. This is a close-up of the front of the key fob.
That is the front of the key fob.
And 157 is at the back.
And actually, they were submitted by,
Sustain the objection.
Were you present when an attempt was made to determine whether or not the keys would work in Mrs. Fulford's Hyundai vehicle that was still in the possession of the Warren Park Police Department?
yes, I was.
And 155 in evidence, is this picture taken during the process of ascertaining whether or not the keys would
Yes,
operate the vehicle?
that is.
May I approach the witness with what has been marked as states Y for identification?
Yes.
Are these the keys that we've seen in the photographs?
You can't see them. They were submitted by our crime scene technician, Ed Bigley, and it says that this is the key fob and the keys.
I've opened that package. Can you now see them and tell us if those are in fact?
Yes, they are the keys.
Your Honor, at this point, I would seek to introduce Y for identification and evidence.
Without objection, what's been marked for identification as states Y is admitted in evidence as states exhibit, is that 158?
Yes.
Okay.
No other questions at this time, Your Honor.
Cross-examination? All right, Detective, you can step down, thank you. Ms. Berg, please call the next witness for the state.
Your Honor, the state calls Conklin fairly lengthy witness.
Okay, can counsel approach? All right, ladies and gentlemen, in just a moment, we're going to take our lunch recess. It's a little early. It's about almost a quarter till 12. So we will plan to continue the presentation of the evidence at 1:15 p.m. this afternoon. During the recess, you're going to continue to leave your notepads and your pens here. During the recess, you're under all the court's instructions, including but not limited to the instruction not to discuss this case amongst yourselves or with anyone else. Thank you for your service here as a juror this morning. Enjoy your lunch. We'll see you at 1:15 p.m. this afternoon. All right, we'll be in lunch recess till 1:15 this afternoon. You all have a good lunch.